Erle Stanley Gardner was an American lawyer and author. He is best known for the Perry Mason series of detective stories, but he wrote numerous other novels and shorter pieces, and also a series of nonfiction books, mostly narrations of his travels through Baja California and other regions of Mexico. His best-selling American author of the 20th century at the time of his death, Gardner also published under numerous pseudonyms. Gardner was born in Malden, Massachusetts, enrolled at School of Law in Indiana. He was suspended after approximately 1 month when his interest in boxing became a distraction. He returned to California, pursued his legal education on his own, and passed the state bar exam in 1911. A law degree was not a prerequisite for bar candidates at the time. Law students could sit for the examination as soon as they felt qualified. He started his legal career by working as a typist in a law firm in California for 3 years. In 1911, he was admitted to the bar and started as a trial lawyer by defending poor people, in particular Chinese and Mexican immigrants. His active interest in defending those who were wrongly implicated or those who didn't have anyone to support them led to his founding the Court of Last Resort in the 1940s, which was an organization that was dedicated to helping people who were imprisoned unfairly or couldn't get a fair trial. Gardner enjoyed litigation and the development of trial strategy, but was otherwise bored by legal practice. In his spare time, he began writing for pulp magazines. While the Perry Mason novels did not delve into the characters' lives very much, the novels were rich in plot detail, which was reality-based, drawn from his own experience. In his early years writing for the pulp market, Gardner set himself a quota of 1,200,000 words a year. When asked why his heroes always defeated villains with the last bullet in their guns, Gardner answered, "At 3 cents a word every time I say bang in the story, I get 3 cents. If you think I'm going to finish the gun battle while my hero still has 15 cents worth of unexploded ammunition in his gun, you're nuts." Early on, he typed stories himself using 2 fingers, but later dictated them to a team of secretaries. He created the Perry Mason TV series. Perry Mason is a distinguished criminal defense lawyer practicing in Los Angeles, California. Most of those clients have been wrongly charged with murder. Each episode typically follows a formula. The first half of the show introduces a prospective murder victim and several people, including Mason's client, who have strong motives to commit murder. Once the crime has been committed, Mason, his private investigator Paul Drake, and his secretary Della Street investigate the case in parallel with the unimaginative police detective, Lieutenant Arthur Tragg, who arrests Mason's client largely on circumstantial evidence, and District Attorney Hamilton Berger, who prosecutes the innocent suspect. In the second half, Mason spars with Berger in the courtroom, either during the trial or the preliminary hearing, in which the district attorney is required to produce just enough evidence to convince the judge that the defendant should be bound over for trial. As the courtroom proceedings advance, Mason often finds the case going against him, so outside the courtroom, either Mason himself or Paul Drake or even Della, his secretary, pursue further leads. As the investigation or examination progresses, Mason and sometimes Berger uncover the morally ugly or even illegal conduct of some of the witnesses or participants, thus complicating the moral and legal intrigue of the case. Eventually, some detail uncovered or remark made inside or outside the courtroom gives Mason the clue he needs to enter into the line of questioning that causes the surprise perpetrator, whether on the stand or not, to break down and confess to the crime and admit to the appalling truth of the motive. With the exception of one episode, Mason's client is always found to be innocent of the charge through the confession of another, and at no time are Mason's clients ever declared not guilty. In the closing scene or epilogue, Paul Drake and Della, the secretary, and sometimes Berger and Tragg, ask Mason what gave him the clue he needed. After Mason explains, he or someone else makes a humorous remark. The Perry Mason syndrome is the manner in which the television crime drama Perry Mason may have affected perceptions of the United States legal system among defendants and jurors. The Perry Mason syndrome purports that due to the oversimplified manner in which trial proceedings were presented on the popular crime drama Perry Mason, jurors who watched the program would enter trials with misconceptions about how the legal process works. Some argue that Perry Mason syndrome greatly reinforced the presumption of innocence of the defendant, which may have been problematic when the defendant was guilty. Others argue that because Perry Mason was often able to cause witnesses to confess, jurors would expect similar Perry Mason moments to occur in real trials as well. This shifted the burden of truth from the prosecution to the defense. In one case, a juror told the defense attorney that the jury had to convict the defendant because the prosecution's key witness did not confess during cross-examination. Defendants. The Perry Mason syndrome has been cited as a reason some defendants would choose to appear pro se, meaning representing oneself in court rather than being represented by a lawyer. The simplified portrayals of trials on the television series led some defendants to underestimate the seriousness of their predicaments. Consistent viewers of the show may have also believed that they had gained an intimate understanding of the United States legal system and would be able to represent themselves better than an attorney could. This effect may have exacerbated by the tendency for news media to oversimplify their coverage of trial proceedings. So let's take a look at a video how Perry Mason invented the courtroom procedural.